Hello and welcome back to Inspirations Yoga Series. Today we're going to find a nice little Hatha flow. We're not going to do a whole lot of sun salutations or vinyasas today. We're going to find a nice comfortable seated practice as we stretch through the hamstrings and our quadriceps. To begin, we're going to start in a comfortable seated position with our legs simply crossed. You know that crisscross applesauce from kindergarten? Maybe we find that adept's posture as we draw one foot gently in front of the other. Maybe our half lotus as we draw one foot to the hip crease and the other gently below the knee. And maybe we can find our full lotus as we draw one foot to the hip crease and then the other as well. Finding any of these comfortable seated variations, we want to begin to notice the grounding through our sit bones. That ability to gently lift the tailbone away from the earth as we utilize that low belly. Continuing to create length through our spine, we'll draw the floating ribs together. Letting the shoulders gently relax back and down, we'll find the hands to the knees, either palms on the knees, or we can have the palms facing up. And as we just find ourselves comfortably seated here, grounding through those sit bones, we begin to draw the awareness of our mind to that natural, rhythmic flowing breath. We just simply allow that breath to be. Just noticing how it moves through the body. How each inhale is a gentle expansion. And each exhale, that ability to release. Finding our next inhale, hugs the low belly in, lengthens through the spine, fills the expanse of our lungs. And our exhale is that ability to relax the chest, draw the floating ribs together as we ground into the earth. So our inhale is the hug of our low belly, lengthens through the spine, filling the expanse of our lungs, and our exhale relaxes the chest, strengthens through the core as we ground into those sit bones. And we'll continue with this diaphragmic breath. And we'll simply begin to add an H to the back of our throat. As we hold this H to the back of our throat, we'll notice each inhale has a gentle SA sound. And each exhale, an HA as if we're fogging a piece of glass. We'll notice that the lips will remain closed, and we try and release the tongue from the roof of our mouth. Further relaxing our facial muscles, we'll release around the eyes and the ears. And as we find this Ujjayi breath moving through our body, noticing the calmness and the steadiness that comes with it. And we do try to maintain this Ujjayi breath throughout the duration of our practice. And finding our next inhalation, we'll gently begin to reach through the fingertips all the way up towards the sky, working that length from the foundation of our sit bones all the way up the spine as we hug the low belly in, drawing the floating ribs together. And then gently we'll interlace the fingers, we'll roll the palms towards the sky as we find that extension through the palms, working that stretch through the shoulders as we continue to strengthen through the core. Then gently we'll unlace the hands as we find those hands floating to the heart center. Another inhale reaches through the fingertips all the way up to that extended seated position. Our exhale to release the hands to our heart center. Finding that inhale reaches those fingertips forward and up, finding that extension out of that foundation. Our next exhale floats that right hand all the way down to the earth. And then we'll begin to extend our left hand over the head, working that stretch through the left side of our body. And we might notice that we can begin to release that right elbow towards the earth, maybe the forearm begins to ground. And then an inhale reaches through the left fingertips, that right hand back to that extended seated position. And we'll find our exhale floats our left hand down to the earth. That right hand begins to extend up and over the head, working that stretch through the obliques and the intercostals. As we find maybe that left elbow bends, maybe the forearm can begin to ground, and we find the availabilities of our postures. And we'll inhale those right hand back up towards the sky, the left hand extends up to meet the right. Our exhale gently releases the hands to our heart center, and we'll find a nice inhale lengthening through our spine. Exhaling the hinge at our hips as we begin to gently fold forward. And we want to start with that hinge at our hips, really encourage that gentle lengthening across the backside of the hips. As we work those stretches through the muscles, we want to strengthen through the core. Hugging the low belly in, we draw the floating ribs together to assist in maintaining the length of our spine. And our next inhale, gently the gaze will draw forward as we reach through the chest forward and up, the shoulders returning up and over the hips. And we'll gently find that we'll just swap that leg variation. So if we had our left leg on top, we'll release those legs, draw that left leg to that inner hip crease, and then we'll draw that right foot to where it belongs. Finding that availability again, and we want to take that same variation that we just had. So we'll find that grounding through the sit bones, the hug of our low belly, the draw of the floating ribs together. Letting the shoulders relax back and down the spine. We're just going to inhale, work a lengthening through the spine. Our exhale, we're going to take that right hand to the outside of our left knee. Now we'll start to notice how this is beginning to encourage that twist. So we're going to keep with it as that left hand gently draws to the earth behind the tailbone. Now we want to roll that left shoulder back and down the spine as we invite that twist with the strength of our core. And then perhaps the gaze will draw over that left shoulder, completing the spinal twist. Now each inhale here in this twist, we want to work that extension out of the foundation of our sit bones. So we want to continue to lift the tailbone off the earth, hugging the low belly in, drawing the floating ribs together as the shoulders relax back and down the spine. And our next exhale gently releases that twist back to our midline, where we find that inhale working that extension out of our foundations. Exhaling that left hand to the outside of our right knee, that right hand gently grounding behind the back upon the earth. Rolling that right shoulder back and down the spine so that we utilize the strength of our core for our twist. And then maybe the gaze begins to draw over that right shoulder, completing our spinal twist. And again, each inhalation works that extension out of our foundations, but each exhale wants to draw that strength of our twist into the core, finding if we can add just a little bit more of a twist with each exhale. And our next exhale will release that twist back to our midline, finding that we'll lengthen on an inhalation through the spine, and then hinge at the hips as we fold forward on an exhalation. And again, we want to work that extension through the spine as we hinge at the hips for this forward fold, trying to keep that grounding through the sit bones as we continue to lengthen through the spine, utilizing our core strength. And an inhale will draw the gaze forward, reach through the chest forward and up as the shoulders work their way up and over the hips. And we'll find ourselves gently releasing the legs from that seated position as we make our way to our bound angle. Drawing the soles of the feet together, we'll gently open up the feet like books with those hands right at the insole. And as we find that gentle opening of the feet like books, we start to work that stretch across the outside of the ankle. That lets the knees begin to fall towards the earth as we hug the low belly in, lifting that tailbone off of the ground. And we remember that we want to have the legs gently relaxed and the glutes and those inner hip flexors relaxed. We just want to work the extension out of that foundation of our sit bones. Hugging the low belly in, we'll draw the floating ribs together and relax the shoulders back and down. And our next exhale hinges at the hips as we reach through the chest forward into this bound angle. As we fold over this bound angle, we want to notice that it's the hinge at our hips that draws that stretch into our body. So we would like to keep that low belly hugging in, those floating ribs drawing together as the shoulders relax back and down the spine. We want to notice a reach through the chest so that we utilize the strength of our core. Continuing to work that strength into our foundation, grounding through the sit bones and gently through the outsoles of our feet. Then we'll work the gaze forward, reaching through the chest forward and up as the shoulders return back up and over the hips. We'll find the legs will extend out wide, prepping for that wide-angled forward fold. And then as we extend through those legs, really reach one last time and try and slide those sit bones forward. As far as your body allows you, just with a nice reach through the feet. That really gets that strength into those legs, builds that stable foundation. As we work the grounding through the heels and the sit bones, feel ourselves press those legs gently into the earth as we work that extension through the spine. And then hinging at the hips, as we reach the chest forward, we find that availability of this forward fold over our wide angle, working through the inner hip flexors and our hamstrings. We want to maintain the length of our spine, utilizing the strength of our core to support our low back. Then we'll draw the gaze forward, we'll reach through the chest forward and up, the shoulders working their way back up and over the hips. We'll invite the knees to bend as those feet draw flat upon the earth, drawing the feet and the knees gently together. The hands will work their way behind the knees, finding that next inhalation begins to work the shins parallel to the earth. So we find our way into this supported boat posture. We want to hug the low belly and lift that tailbone off of the earth. And maybe this is where we hang out. Maybe we want to find that those arms can extend with those knees bent. Maybe we work that extension through the legs, and maybe those extended legs need that support of the arms, and we find that variation that's available. And then we continue to work that length out of our foundation, wanting to remind ourselves to lift that tailbone off the earth, to utilize that low core strength. Drawing the floating ribs together works that extension out of that firm foundation. And then we'll begin to make our way into our half boat. We'll start with the legs. We extend them out in front of us, releasing the heels to approximately 6 inches off the earth. We'll let the shoulders begin to relax back, working that strength through the core as is available. We want to keep that strength through the core as the shoulders begin to relax. Maybe we find that we can roll onto the backside of our pelvis. Now our next inhalation will lift us back to our boat variation. An exhale releases into our half boat variation. And an inhalation will find us lifting back to our boat variation. And this exhale, our final half boat as we release down. And that inhale draws us back into our boat. Our exhale releases the soles of the feet to the earth. We'll ground firmly through the feet as we let the knees gently splay apart. We'll hug the low belly and work that extension through the spine. And then find our next exhale starts to reach the chest forward and through the knees as our body allows. Now maybe we'll notice that the upper arms will come to the tops of our knees. Maybe those upper arms can come to the front or of the knees or the shins. Maybe we even want to find that those fingertips extend out wide and maybe towards the wall behind us. Just working that length through the spine, inviting that stretch through those inner hip flexors. And then gently drawing the hands back to our heart center. We reach through the chest forward and up. We work the shoulders back up and over our hips. And we'll extend our right foot out in front of us, keeping that left foot grounded upon the earth. Hugging the low belly in, we work this extension out of our foundation. Our exhale reaches the chest towards those right toes as we find that reach of the chest, that lengthening through the spine. We keep that firm foundation grounding through the sit bones and through that left big toe mound, pinky toe mound and heel. We continue to reach through the backside of our right leg as we extend through that right heel. As we work our way into this sage posture, maybe we find ourselves nice and comfortable. Maybe we wish to extend that left hand out towards the left. Maybe it reaches towards the wall behind us, and maybe it can even get up onto our backs. Maybe that right hand wants to venture back and see if it can meet the left, seeing if we can find a bind. And then as we find that availability of our posture, our next inhale, work a lengthening through the spine, roll those shoulders back and down, and our exhale really encourages that hinge at the hips as we find the availability of our sage pose. And then we'll draw the gaze forward. We'll gently release the bind if we are able to find it, and then extend through the chest forward and up as the shoulders return up and over our hips. And we're going to invite ourselves to twist this sage posture as we start to take that left hand gently behind the back onto the earth as we find that extension out of that foundation. Now our right arm can wrap around that left knee, gently hugging it in towards the chest, seeing how close we can get it over to that right armpit. Maybe we can take that right upper arm and place it to the top of our left knee. Maybe that upper arm can move to the outside of the knee as we continue to find that twist through the core. Now remember that we want to hug the low belly in, ground through those sit bones as that tailbone lifts off the earth. Now as we find that availability of our twist, we might want to draw that left hand off the earth. Now we'll notice that most of our weight wants to move back, so really extend through that right front foot to work that length through the leg, that extension through the spine to really ground through those sit bones. And then we'll find that our next exhale, gently release this twist back to our midline. We'll extend our left foot out to meet the right as we gently bend that right knee, that right foot flat upon the earth. Grounding through the sit bones, the hug of our low belly lengthens through the spine. And our exhale reaches the chest towards those left toes, keeping as much length through the spine as our body allows, just working that stretch into that right hip. As we find that availability here, maybe that right hand wants to extend out to the right. Maybe it starts to reach towards the wall behind us, and perhaps it can venture its way up onto the hip or onto our back. That left hand can begin to reach back and around to see if it can find a bind. And as we find what's available within our practice, our next inhale really works a lengthening through the spine, filling the expanse of the lungs as the shoulders relax back and down. Our exhale encouraging that hinge at the hip, that strengthening through the core as we support that low back. And gently we'll draw the gaze forward. We'll release the bind if we're able to find it as we extend through the chest forward and up, the shoulders returning up and over the hips. As we begin to move into that twist of our sage posture, that right hand will release to the earth just behind the tailbone. We'll find that that left arm hugs the knee into the chest in towards that left armpit. Maybe that upper arm makes its way to the top of the knee, maybe to the outside of the knee, continuing to roll that right shoulder back and down the spine to find this twist with the strength of our core. And as we reach through that left heel, finding that firm foundation through our sit bones, maybe that right hand can begin to gently lift off the earth. As we really work that extension out of that foundation of our sit bones, we'll find that availability of balance and strength. And gently, our next exhale will release this twist back to our midline. We'll extend that right foot out to meet the left as we take a nice deep inhalation, lengthening through the spine. Our exhale invites a hinge at the hips. We reach the chest towards our toes as we begin to make our way into our Paschimottanasana. Now, as we find this Paschimottanasana, we want to start that hinge at the hips. Find that stretch through the hamstrings and gently through the glutes. And then as we reach through the heels of the legs, we find that the tops of the feet will draw in towards the body with the strength of the front side of our shin. And that encourages that stretch through our calves. And then we work that strength through the low belly. We draw the floating ribs together. We reach through the chest, inviting that length up the spine. And then we'll let the neck just gently relax. The head falls freely towards the earth with the strength of gravity. And we found a nice Paschimottanasana. And allowing ourselves a few moments here. And gently we'll work the gaze forward, reaching through the chest forward and up as the shoulders return up and over the hips. We'll gently walk the hands back about 6 to 8 inches. We want to keep those fingers reaching towards the sit bones, that lengthening through the arm. Our next inhale begins to lift the hips up towards the sky, reaching the toes towards the earth, finding this reverse plank. Now, if this is really difficult, we can release the sit bones back to the earth, bend the knees, ground through the feet, and our next inhale then lifts the hips up into our tabletop posture. So we find either that tabletop posture or our reverse plank, really working that strength through that posterior side of our body. And our next exhale, we'll gently release the sit bones back to the earth. We'll walk those hands up alongside the hips. And we'll find that we'll take our right foot and we'll draw that right foot into that hip flexor of our left leg, finding that half lotus pose with our right leg. We'll hug the low belly and work a lengthening out of this foundation. Our next exhale begins to reach the chest towards the toes, finding that extension through that foundation, reaching through that left heel, lengthening through the backside of our left leg. The hinge at our hips works that stretch across the hips as we find that strengthening through the core. Our next inhale draws the gaze forward. We reach to the chest forward and up, the shoulders back up and over the hips, and we'll continue to work that right foot all the way up alongside that left hip, seeing if or how close we can get a knee-to-knee connection. We'll find the hug of our low belly lifts out of this foundation, and our next exhale invites that forward fold, seeing if we can't draw that stomach to thigh connection as we work that extension through the spine. And of course, we want to keep that reach through the back side of our left leg, working that top of that left foot in towards the body. And we'll draw the gaze forward, reaching through the chest forward and up as the shoulders return up and over the hips. We'll gently assist that right foot out to meet the left. And we'll find that that left knee will bend as we work that left foot into that left hip pocket. We'll find that hug of our low belly, that lengthening out of this foundation, that left leg in our half lotus, that right leg nice and extended. We'll hug the low belly in, our exhale hinges at the hips as we work that extension through the spine. Continuing to find that length through the back side of our right leg, that reach through that right heel, the draw of the top of the foot in towards the body. We still stretch through the calves and the hamstrings, across the hips, that lengthening through the spine. And we'll draw the gaze forward, reaching through the chest, forward and up, as we work the shoulders up and over the hips. Finding that left foot continues its journey up alongside the body as it draws up next to our right hip. We'll see if we can get a knee-to-knee connection or however close our body finds. We ground through the sit bone, the hug of our low belly lengthens through the spine. Our next exhale, the hinge at our hips as we start to fold forward. Now remember, we want to keep that extension through that right leg, the top of the foot, drawing in towards the body. The hug of our low belly as we lift out of that pelvic floor, drawing the floating ribs together. The shoulders remain back and down to keep the length across the collarbones. And as we draw the gaze forward, reaching through the chest forward and up as the shoulders return up and over the hips. We'll assist that left leg out to meet the right, and we'll give the legs just a nice little gentle bit of a shake. And we'll find that we'll invite that right knee to bend. We'll step it to the outside of our left leg. As we invite that left knee to bend, that left heel draws up close to that right hip, making our way into our Lord of the Fish posture. Now we can keep that left leg extended, finding our half Lord of the Fish as we work what's available with our bodies. Now we're going to take that right hand and we're going to gently begin to place it behind the tailbone upon the earth, working that twist through the core as we roll that right shoulder back and down. That left arm again can wrap around that right leg as we hug that knee across the chest towards that left armpit. Now maybe we'll find that left upper arm draws to the top of our right knee. Maybe it makes its way to the outside of the knee. Finding that we continue to roll that right shoulder back and down the spine, finding that the Lord of the Fish posture. And again, each inhale hugs the low belly and works that extension through the spine. Each exhale finds that firm foundation into the earth. And our next exhale gently releases this twist back to our midline. And we'll keep that right foot on the outside of that left side as we draw the heel up towards the hip. Making our way into our cow face posture as we ground through the sit bones, working that stretch through our piriformis muscle groupings. We'll hug the low belly in. We'll draw the floating ribs together as we keep that extension through the spine. Now gently maybe we'll ground through the palms as we start to hinge at the hips. Keeping the length through the spine, we might be able to walk the hands forward. Maybe we release those forearms down to the earth as we find that stomach to thigh connection. Maybe we can relax the chest into the knees, keeping the shoulders rolled back and down, and we might even begin to relax the neck, seeing if the chin or the forehead can make contact with one of our knees. And we'll draw the gaze forward, reaching through the chest, forward and up, as we walk those hands back in towards the body. And we'll find that we'll gently release that top right leg to ground in the foot in front of us. We'll gently extend that left leg out as we extend the right, giving the legs a nice little bit of a shake. And we'll find ourselves moving into that opposite side, bending our left knee, that foot to the outside of our right leg, bending that right knee, drawing the right heel up towards our left hip. Finding that Lord of the Fish posture again, that right leg can remain extended, finding our half Lord of the Fish. We'll find the hug of our low belly, inviting that twist as we roll that left shoulder back and down, grounding the hand just behind the tailbone. Maybe we just hug that left knee in towards the chest, working it across towards the armpit. Maybe that upper right arm can draw to the top of the knee. Maybe it makes its way to the outside of our left knee. And we find that Lord of the Fish posture, utilizing that core to twist as we relax the shoulders back and down the spine. Maybe the gaze draws over that left shoulder. And gently our exhale releases this twist back to our midline. We'll draw that left heel all the way up towards that right hip, seeing if we can't find that knee-to-knee connection. And it's just an idea and a concept that we can work for, finding that we want to listen to the availability of our body. Grounding through the sit bones, we work that stretch through those piriformis muscle groupings. We hug the low belly in, maintaining the length of our spine, and then an exhale hinges at the hips as we ground through the palms. And maybe we'll walk those hands forward, keeping the length through the spine. The shoulders continue to relax, back and down. Maybe we find that those forearms can release to the earth, finding that stomach to thigh connection, maybe even that chest to knee connection. And then we can relax the neck, the head falls freely towards the earth. Maybe we find that the chin comes to a knee or the forehead to the knee. Then we allow ourselves a few moments here in this cow face posture. And gently we'll draw the gaze forward, reaching through the chest forward and up as the shoulders make their way up and over the hips. We'll gently extend that left foot out, finding that the foot grounds gently upon the earth, and we'll draw that right foot out, and we'll ground that right foot upon the earth as well. And then we'll take the legs and we'll extend the legs to about a 45-degree angle so that we can find that we can begin to take the length of our spine gently through the legs. And then we'll see if we can't work those hands underneath their respective leg, reaching those hands out towards their side. And remember that we want to keep that length through the spine. We find what's available as we begin to work our way into this turtle posture, our Kurmasana posture. And then what's really fun is maybe we can begin to walk those feet out in front of us, beginning to really work that stretch into that hamstring of the legs. We find the hug of the low belly maintains the length through our spine. And then as those feet further walk out, maybe we find that we can't walk those feet out any further, but we can pull the tops of the feet in towards the body. And we might be able to start reaching through those heels, finding that we can continue to work the depth and that availability of our posture. Finding that stretch into the hamstring that is both comfortable and yet challenging. And as we start to make our way out of our Kurmasana, we invite the knees to gently bend. We work those hands back to our midline. And then we'll gently reach the chest forward and up as we gently extend the legs out in front of us, giving them a nice bit of a shake. And then we'll recline one vertebrae at a time back onto our backs. We'll bend the knees, we'll step the feet up close to our sit bones as we prep for our bridge posture. Relaxing the arms alongside the body, we really want to find that foundation through the feet and the shoulders. And our next inhale begins to reach the hips up towards the sky, really focusing that strength into the feet and the shoulders as we utilize that foundation to extend out of the earth. And then maybe we'll walk the hands together. We'll interlace those fingers as we reach the knuckles through the ankles, finding that just assists in rolling those shoulders into the earth a touch more. And gently we'll unlace the hands as we release the arms alongside the body. And our next exhale releases one vertebrae at a time onto our backs. As we find our knees gently fall to the right, and then lift to center and fall to the left, a little windshield wipering of our knees. We'll continue, releasing to the right and then to the left. Back and forth, back and forth. And as we even out this rock windshield wipering of the knees, making our way back to our midline. And we can prep back for that bridge posture, or perhaps we'd like to find our way into our Urdhva Dhanurasana, that upward facing bow. And this does take quite a bit of upper body strength, so if you find that you want to try, go ahead and give it a shot, but we want to keep in mind the capabilities of our body. So we can ground those hands up alongside the ears, the fingertips reaching towards the heels. And we'll notice that we still have the foundation through the shoulders and the feet. Our next inhale, we reach those hips up into our bridge posture, finding that firm foundation through the feet and the shoulders. Now maybe we choose to remain here in this bridge. Perhaps we want to try and transition that grounding of the shoulders into our hands as we begin to press those hands into the earth. Now we want to start to notice that we lift the shoulder with the strength of the arms extending. We lift that body off the earth. We allow the neck to relax and just kind of let the head gently fall. And we want to notice that extension of the arms, pressing that body weight into the hands, building that foundation of the hands and the feet for our Urdhva Dhanurasana, the shoulders and the feet for our bridge posture. And then we find that it's the exact same extension. We just added a little bit of more length for that Urdhva Dhanurasana. Now if we made our way up into our Urdhva, our next exhale allows those elbows to begin to bend. We relax nice and gently. We want to gently tuck the chin in towards the chest so we can firmly ground the shoulders to the earth. And then our next exhale begins to relax one vertebrae at a time all the way back onto the earth. And we'll gently release the knees over to the right, back to center, and then to left, finding that windshield wipering motion again. And as we draw those feet back to our midline, Again, moving back into our bridge or our Urdhva Dhanurasana, the choice is yours, finding that firm foundation of your choice. Our next inhale lifts those hips up into our bridge posture, building that strength through the foundation of the feet and the shoulders. And then maybe if we find that Urdhva Dhanurasana, we press into those hands, lifting out of that foundation. Now, as we find that posture of choice, our bridge or our Urdhva Dhanurasana, our next inhale, we want to find that right foot begins to lift off the earth as we extend that right heel all the way up towards the sky, finding this extended Urdhva Dhanurasana or extended bridge posture. Our next exhale gently releases that right foot back down to the earth, and we'll inhale that left foot up, really finding that extension through the heel towards the sky, those hips remaining nice and parallel to the earth, continuing to work that firm foundation through either the hands or the shoulders and the feet. And then we'll release that left foot to gently ground. We'll find a nice lengthening out of those foundations. Our next exhale gently releases the shoulders to the earth for those of us who are in our Urdhva Dhanurasana. Remember to chuck the chin in towards the chest to ground those shoulders. And then our next exhale, as we relax each vertebrae one at a time back onto the earth, we'll work the knees very gently into the chest as we extend the arms out to a T. And we'll find that we'll relax the knees nice and slowly over to the right-hand side, remaining grounded through those shoulders. And perhaps the gaze works its way over to those left fingertips, completing that spinal twist. And we'll draw the gaze back up towards the sky. The knees will work their way back into the chest. And then we'll release the knees over to the left-hand side. We'll find the gaze might draw over to those right fingertips, remaining grounded through the shoulders. And then we just relax into that twist, finding that the strength of gravity pulls us into the earth. And we'll work the gaze back up to the sky, the knees back into the chest. We'll wrap the arms around the shins, giving ourselves a nice big hug of appreciation. We'll relax then the arms alongside the body. We'll extend the soles of the feet all the way up to the sky, and our next exhale gently floats those heels all the way down to the earth, nice and controlled. And as the heels make contact with the earth, we'll find that extension through the spine and the legs. We inhale those legs to about a 30-degree angle off of the earth, finding that leg lift here. And our next inhale will draw those legs up to that 60-degree angle, finding that grounding through the pelvis and the shoulders. And then our next inhale, those legs all the way up to our candlestick posture. We'll find just a few moments here working that grounding through the pelvis and the shoulders, and that lengthening through our spine with a gentle strengthening of our core. Our next exhale gently floats those heels all the way back down to the earth. And we'll find ourselves just relax into this foundation. We'll let the palms gently reach up towards the sky. As the arms relax, the hands take their natural C curve. As we let the legs begin to melt away, we'll notice that the toes naturally splay apart. We'll release that Ujjayi breath, finding that diaphragmic breath. And then slowly, as we release that diaphragmic breath, moving back to that natural, rhythmic flowing breath. The simplicity that exists with our breath. And that ability to relax into the earth. Finding this Shavasana posture. Our final relaxation. It's a few moments to simply allow ourselves to be. as we focus the awareness of our mind upon that natural, rhythmic flowing breath. And as we notice the mind to begin to wander, and just gently remind it that we're focusing upon that breath, that gentle cycle of inhale and exhale. And as we begin to invite movement back into our bodies, we'll begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes, gently rolling the wrists and the ankles in circles. Perhaps we stretch as if we had woken from a nap. And we'll gently work the knees into the chest, rocking over onto our right-hand side. And we'll remain here in our fetal position for a few moments, as we continue to remain connected to that natural flowing breath. And gently we'll begin to make our way to a comfortable seated position. And again, anything from our simple cross-legged to our adept's posture, our half lotus or our full lotus. Whatever's available and comfortable. And I always like to end with gratitude, thankfulness for all of you, my viewers. And just a quick reminder for you guys, if you did like this video, do check out that subscribe button, that red one down there. If you want, give it that thumbs up as well, because that's what gets this out there, gets other people the possibility to see that fitness is accessible for them as well, and that they can change their lives too. So thank you, and Namaste, Yogi.